So, welcome back, everybody. This is part two of my interview with Kyree of the Hood Mystic. So, in our first video, we spoke a little bit about his personal story and the backstory in how he created the Hood Mystic and his other company, It Takes a Village Holdings LLC. And we also spoke about some of the initial challenges he had with this, changing and altering his money consciousness. We spoke a bit about poverty consciousness and what that looks like in his own day-to-day life, growing up with a single mom. We spoke some about how his relationship with money shifted with the onset of the birth of his child, and also continuing, after the death of his wife and or the mother of his children, his other two children as well. And we also spoke about the importance, and we began speaking about the importance of the individual in changing their mind, and how this contributes to changing group consciousness. And so we are coming back to speak a little bit more about the process of getting unstuck in the first place, and what this looks like for many of us, because we had spoke a little bit about how folks get really stuck in the belief that you have to do quick things, you have to work really, really hard. A lot of the money beliefs that people hold are very detrimental, and the way that they think about money is detrimental because it's not in the context of a long-term plan. It's in the context of, what can I do day to day to make more money just today? And there isn't a focus on building ancestral wealth. And so, we are speaking a little bit about the structure behind how to create a physical representation of the knowledge you've accumulated over time, because we were really speaking about how important it is to be able to embody and to walk not necessarily just talk the talk, but walk the talk, right? And how on Facebook, it's really easy for people to just tout a bunch of information. People get information high all day long.
Yeah. Right.
And they don't have a really good handle on how to apply the teachings that they have in their life. And we spoke some about the importance of transmuting trauma into profit. And so, in the second part of this video, I really want to, again, speak more to what were some of the tools, and support that you had to acquire to begin to get yourself unstuck. I know that you had access to a bunch of information, and you began really looking into some of these other tarot readers who are we're still trying to figure out more information, right? And they've been doing it for a long time, but then you realize at a certain point that you had to actually apply that in order to get anywhere. So I would like to know if there was anyone in particular that you began listening to or following that helped you to begin to apply your knowledge, and how you garnered the courage to begin doing so.
Okay. Yeah, so this was before YouTube or before the internet, consciousness. There used to be on these VHS tapes that my homeboys, we used to go to New York and buy shoes, cheap Air Force Ones, not even cheap, fake Air Force Ones, fake Jordans. And, on 125th Street in Harlem, they had a consciousness booths and things of that nature with these tapes. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would grab these tapes like Bobby Hemmett. And man, I could listen to this information, and it would be it would feel good to listen to him. But I wasn't listening to him and incorporating it because my mind was so fixated on flipping these shoes or doing this or doing that. And the information, it felt good, but I wasn't applying it. So Bobby Hemmett, C. Freemanelle, and really just general reading. I don't know. I've read so many books, but up until I was ready to incorporate and just take a step back and really just give myself time to really develop and say, you know what, Napoleon Hill, a great one. James Allen is the truth, the truth. Who else do I love? Phil Hine. Just this information, been dealing with it for a while just because I enjoyed it like a movie or something. But lo and behold, if I was ever to practice it and not really focus on my own personal triumphs or struggles and really just deal with developing the spiritual reality of me,
Mm.
then the whole thing changed. And I think like through trauma, that was the only way. Like my biggest teacher was my children's mother. Because at a certain point, when you deal with people, you think that you're dealing with a human being or an individual, and they pass away. So then their mythology changes and shifts in your perspective of how you view them. And
Mm-hmm.
so she was my greatest teacher above and beyond anything, just based upon my love for her and me not knowing the future, but kind of feeling it, kind of understanding it. And now I'm just at a point where this is something that we started together, all of these things. And it's crazy because like you would want to do this and want to do that and want to do this and want to do that, but never change the core. So every day you're just doing everything that you would normally do, but in your back of your mind, it's like, I want to start a business, or I want to do this, or I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not taking the steps based upon your habitual nature of just doing everything that you've been taught to do, it just didn't work. So generally understanding spirituality and really being spirit led above and beyond all things is really the crux of how I can survive and navigate through this matrix.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's really important. Like I spoke a little about in my other video, like reading.
Mm-hmm.
What I do personally, like my business is Cosmic Memoranda, and my
Mm-hmm.
focus is on personal cosmology and spiritual integration, because
Mm-hmm.
I really understand that like building your own framework of how the cosmos works and your own narrative of
Mm-hmm.
the universe is like is really
Mm-hmm.
developing that first is really crucial to
Mm-hmm.
apply it, because if it isn't there, then like
Mm-hmm.
really isn't anything like feeding and like sourcing, like feeding
Mm-hmm.
that like that sense of self. And like you said, like you're like if there is no real spiritual growth, then you're just kind of doing the things that you used to be doing and like
Mm-hmm.
throwing affirmations on it. That's what I spoke a little bit about before.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people who like throw affirmations. There are a lot of people who throw mantras on things. There's a lot of people who
Mm-hmm.
spiritually bypass
Mm-hmm.
their real day-to-day life situations, because they think that by applying some spiritual thoughts, or like thinking spiritual thoughts and repeating them more than anything, then that like somehow the repetition is gonna change, but without doing the actual work of identifying what needs to change and
Mm-hmm.
how to like tailor it to specific things.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask, like, what were some of the spiritual tools that you began to put into that toolbox? Like, I know you spoke a little
Yeah, for
bit.
sure. For sure. So the greatest thing of wealth creation for me is actually being like flat ass, dead ass broke. Like just nothing, no job, no nothing, like nothing, 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 nothing. And so where the only thing that you possibly could do is meditate.
Mhm.
Cause like it was a point in time. See, whatever situation I was ever in, I've always felt above and beyond it. Even if I'm in it, I can see myself through it. So it's never like I'm being ate up by a particular situation or circumstance. So if I found myself in a situation where I couldn't move left or right, up or down, I would just fuck it and just so much meditation in my life, so much like even in assessing and assimilating the Bible, it would be just read the Bible, and then just find the scripture, and it'd be like, wow, that's profound, and just sit and meditate on that scripture and really be like, what does it really mean? And just really be gone off of it, like, you know what I'm saying? And the number one tool that anyone can incorporate in this life, like the cream of the crop, is meditation. A daily meditation program plan that you do every day. And don't tell me that I don't have time to meditate. To me, that's like saying I don't have time to breathe. You know what I'm saying? Like, meditation is the most important thing that you can do on this planet, hands down. And you don't need shit to meditate. So, from me, through my meditation, through my altar work, through my cause work, and people can define cause work as rituals, spell, divination, whatever, however you want to do it. But cause work to me is dealing with my higher self and implementing a specific intention or plan in my daily life and living with those effects. And it works for me, and it works for everybody that I talk to on a one-on-one basis. So yeah, for me, that's the tool. Like, that's the tool. And sometimes your spirit, like my spirit, I was living in Boston, Massachusetts, and my spirit was like, go to Ohio. You know what I'm saying? And now my spirit is like, go to Austin, Texas. So now I'm gearing up to go to Austin, Texas. And when I'm in Austin, Texas, it might say, go to LA. And and I'm just on my own path, and I don't look to anybody. Like, that's why, like, if you my Facebook friend or something like that, I say shit just because I know where my beans and, like, I know where my milk and butter is at. Like, I know where the source is at and where I'm getting my instructions from. And it's really the ancestral realm and my spirituality within myself. I always just knew that I was a little different and a little special. And now that, like, I'm growing up, it's really showing itself to me. And so I speak to those people who feel that same way. It's a little bit of weirdness, a little bit of eccentric, however you say that.
I'm so bad.
Eccentricism,
Yeah.
within us all, like, to whereas, like, we pick up on this information where the next person might be like, yo, this is weird. I can't get into this. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, so yeah, the tool, I can't get past it. Like, it's other things you could do, but for me, a meditation plan is key. And if you want a time before you wake up, like, wake up, drink some water. If you got to be to work at 7, set your alarm clock for 5:30 so you could get that 30 minutes of, that's key. That's key to me. That's really key. So yeah, like, that's just the crux of it to me.
I think that's great because, Priestess Sekhmet also spoke about that too, about how meditation is like one of the very, very important things because, as we're like sifting through our money beliefs and going through things, like, you don't really know, like, how much of what you were taught was really your own personal thoughts and your own personal beliefs, and how much of it is like subconscious programming, and we speak about, like, like you said, like, a lot of people in our communities spend a lot of time consuming information from various sources, especially the TV, especially from music, especially from, like, movies.
YouTube.
People are very suggestible to information, and a lot of the information that they're consuming is actually altering and changing their ability to move about in the world and create and propagate their own wealth. And I really feel like meditation allows for the distillation of that information, and to really see, like, what is your own truth from that. And I think that, like, it's really important. I agree that, like, there has to be scheduled time, and, like, for our listeners, meditation doesn't necessarily always have to just be sitting down for like 30 minutes and like trying to like quiet your thoughts. Like for myself, like I can't do sitting meditations. So
Mm-hmm.
like I have to like do like guided things like yoga nidra. I do yoga,
Yeah.
helps. I do
Mm-hmm.
like prayer is also a great way to meditate because it helps to channel into
Mm-hmm.
the brain. Like walking meditations are really important.
Peace.
The
Peace.
way of
Yeah.
like
Peace.
Sufism being like a twirling dervish, like twirling
Mm-hmm.
being a movement in itself. Dance is a
Mm-hmm.
form of meditation.
Dancing.
You know,
Taking a drive.
mhm. Yeah, and like
Yeah.
walking, taking just a nature walk.
Peace.
All these different things
Peace.
are really important and helpful. Like so, like if you are someone who like has a lot of nervous energy, like myself, like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
Mm-hmm.
just sitting down can create much more anxiety around
Oh
money
yeah.
as opposed to just like
Yeah.
moving and action, and like allowing nature to ground you. And
Mm.
like, as someone who's like spiritual, I know that like being in nature in particular helps you access a lot of spiritual intuition and like your own intuition, and it actually helps you to visualize and project what you want. The nature will like amplify those vibrations of what it is you're trying to project. And I know you spoke a little bit about projection in the first part of
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
video, and I wanted to go back to that because I know meditation
Mm-hmm.
is a core component, but I also know that projection and visualizing is
Oh yeah.
is another step that I know you would like to really speak more.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Because I'm 33 years old, and back to what you was saying about like the input, and I'm not saying that it has to be sitting down going in like the lotus position. What I'm saying is that we need that time. Your whole day can be a meditation if you're not taking in information from other people. Like, listen, this information may be right and exact, but it may not be right and exact for you. Like, if I'm 5'3", I should
Mhm.
not be looking at, basketball tutorials on how to get into the NBA. It's like, it's just not pertinent to the reality. Like, I don't know, it's just a waste of time. And so generally, if that person was to go within himself, he would find something more pertinent to his purpose in life. So generally, when you speak about projecting and intentions, we can have a specific intention and projection and be so strong and be so God and so wrong, like completely wrong on our projections. As I was, I'm be turning 33 on the 23rd of
Mhm.
this month. My projections was completely wrong about where I would be at this point, and generally I didn't have a idea of where I would be at 33. Thus, that's where I'm at. I'm at a point where I have to start to create that now and really understand that, okay, it's my responsibility to set the intentions to create the life that I want.
Mhm.
And a lot of it, a lot of it is, are you sure you really want it? Because generally when I talk to people, I say, so what is it that you want? And they'll tell me what I want, what they want. I was like, so, okay, so you're willing, but then it's like, well, I don't know. I may want to do this and I may want to do that. And so you basically telling me a lot of times when I talk to people, when I do readings or when I do counseling, I deal with people who have no idea of what it is that they want.
Mhm.
Like, and so that's a key component. And would you want that for 5 years? Like, would you something that you would want to do, something that you love to do? Like, it's just important. So art, being creative. What is your goals? Like, what do you want? Like, so what are we going to do for the next year You know what I'm saying? And it's like people live a year. Like people live, people go through life. And so why do we not take up the responsibility to take control of our lives now every day? Like why don't we do that? Like why is that something that we just give up to chance? And I feel like it's a core belief, and it's based upon, these systems that are specifically designed to inject fear into your subconscious, into your core belief. And so another way of why meditation is important, because it clears that, at least for that moment, if you could just take a walk into nature. Like nature is something that I'm real big upon, like really learning about myself through nature.
Mm-hmm.
Learning about my history, my ancestorship. It's an amazing journey once you take a step back and realize that you have been guided along this whole entire way. And so if you could just take a step back and incorporate your spiritual power, as opposed to this weak and powerless human being on this earth, and anything can happen at any given time, like, it's a perspective, man, that you can really just use and utilize every day and become a force, as opposed to just a target.
Yeah.
And so that's more or less what I'm trying to instill in my household and myself every day, like removing the victim consciousness, the victim mentality, becoming the victor in my own life. It's really key for me to not seek help, but be the helper. And I don't know how many of us are willing to take on that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like it's like, okay, so we're gonna have this conversation. We're gonna talk about you really needing somebody to come walk by and help you. And so we going like like we can talk about like who is this person, what is he gonna look like when is it gonna happen. If we want to do that, we can do that, but I just choose not to. I just choose to be that person that if you need help, I want to be the one to be the helper. And so that it helps me in my studies and the things that I'm doing, because I'm really taking an assertive position, a position of action, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to a position of waiting for something or somebody, or we need to come together. We do. We do. And I don't want to like bash on nothing, but, or get my words twisted, but who is going to be the leaders through example? Who is going to be the providers of the finances and the source material or the diagrams and who's going to be the teachers? Who's going to be the healers? Who's going to be the leaders? And so what consciousness do those people have to have and carry? So I think that projections and intentions based upon that factor of all the people that you possibly could help who don't have help, what I see is a lot of people who generally need help, but I don't see anybody willing to help them in a real
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I hear that. Like, and for me, like I come from sick and disabled, queer, trans people of color communities, and like these are like a lot of the communities that are like some of the most marginalized, in society. And there's a really huge, like the current metaphysical new age movement really does not meet those people where they are. A lot of the, information is inaccessible, it's expensive, it's,
For sure.
the language is not in a way that's understandable. Some of it can be really academic. Some of it is like just trying to describe esoteric things and translating it and like losing indigenous teachings. Some of it is
Mm-hmm.
like appropriation of real,
Mm-hmm.
cultural knowledge and stuff that we already know that's like being rebranded and resold to us in like a really pretty
Mm-hmm.
package. And
Mm-hmm.
part of like why I created this webinar in particular was so that this information of like what it is to do and how to get out of poverty as someone who is sick or disabled,
Yeah, that's that.
Things that you can, there are things that you can do, and like it doesn't, like, like you said, like for you, you had to be like, one of the greatest things was like being broke, dead broke, and having no job and nothing, because it was at point zero. That's when you're actually able to start taking in new types of information or relearning information you already visited, like, and revisiting that,
Mm,
and then now applying it, and understanding that
mm.
now you had the space and time, to sit down and do
Right,
these things and really
right.
develop your inner self, because it was like, because the rest of the world, like, rejects these communities. These communities were like, okay, we're just going to build ourselves up, and that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm,
Someone who is a sick and disabled person, is
mm-hmm,
I need to, something like, I grew up in poverty, I grew up homeless, and I've been sick and disabled my whole life. And
mm-hmm,
like, as someone who's young, like, I'm under 25, and I know
mm-hmm,
that, like, in 10 years, right, like, I want
mm-hmm,
to be someone who has developed enough wealth and has created, like, an entire, like, system, so that way I can show other people how to do the same. And it's not necessarily like having people to, like, having them be exactly like me, or
mm-hmm,
having them be like somebody else, but really just providing the space to facilitate their own internal, their own spiritual exploration and the integration process. Because like we spoke about, like you just said, like, if there isn't enough space for that to happen for these people, because they're being pushed out. And
mm-hmm,
like, that's why I like specifically wanted to be somebody to create a business within this, because
mm-hmm,
I was like, I need a formal structure for this, and
mm-hmm,
I think it'll actually really help some folks. And like you
mm-hmm,
said, like, a lot of this information, maybe people aren't ready for it right now, but like your forgiveness video, maybe someone's not ready to forgive right now, but maybe they're
mm-hmm,
willing to forgive in 3 years. And in doing
mm-hmm,
so, this video has been there for them, so that way when they find it and come across it on, like, Google or whatever new search engine
mm-hmm,
in the future,
mm-hmm,
that this thing is already there for them. And
mm-hmm,
and I really want everyone watching and listening to understand that, like, there are people within our communities, our shared communities, who are willing to do these things for you. Like, I know,
mm-hmm,
like, life, especially when you're sick and disabled, life, and like the narrative in the world is told that, like, life, is really random. Fate just happens
mm-hmm,
to you, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
there's a lot of, like, powerlessness that exists.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
like, I really want to help empower our communities, and seeing that there is more to it.
mm-hmm,
And like, by
mm-hmm,
doing, by being sure to build up the spiritual first, then you really have
mm-hmm,
the inner workings to project something out into the real world, because you can't project something that there's nothing inside, like, because then it's just empty, it's just a vessel, and literally anything else can fill through it. And that's what happens with a lot of people. They're so suggestive and like suggestible, that like
mm-hmm.
stuff fills into them, because they don't have a strong enough sense of self to like keep
Yeah.
all of it out.
And that's what I really want to speak to that, because in my teachings, not even teachings, because I don't want to come across as a person like that, but in my conversations and my discussions, I pinpoint the actual modality for which is your spiritual power. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be some abstract, vague term that we just throwing around for us to feel better about life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really talking about like a specific modality, and is your parasympathetic system. It is not your brain. Your brain is there for a purpose, but is not your power. Your
Mm-hmm.
power is not you contemplating and analyzing something. Your power is in those deep breaths. Even when we started this build, you said, let me take 3 deep breaths. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't say, let me ponder this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a source of power, but our society is dead set on hijacking your brain and then making your brain think that it's superior to your parasympathetic system. What is your parasympathetic system? I've always said that we can generalize what we want to do and have a plan on what we want to manifest and all of that. But if we don't breathe,
Mm-hmm.
it don't matter. And what controls your breathing? Your parasympathetic system. So in my videos, when I speak about spiritual power and things of that nature, I'm specifically talking about the power of the breath and utilizing that to free yourself from the agony of your humanity and your mind, and
Mm-hmm.
taking control of your thoughts and really realizing that this is a destructive ass thought that I'm thinking right now. The outcome of the thought is going to be undesirable. So I have to change that immediately. It's not to say that we don't have negative thoughts. It's to say that we do not entertain those negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
We entertain the positive thoughts or the harmonious thoughts or the constructive thoughts. So that's why I think that it's important for me to That's why, like, it's important for me to speak this, because nobody I'm hearing in my teaching, in my life, is speaking upon this system that is scientific. It's not like I'm just making it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that our blood coursing through our brains, us breathing, like that's a part of our own individual mind. Our heart beating is a result of our mind, not as a result of our thinking. Our
Yeah.
thinking would let that shit, we would be dead. We would be so dead if if it was about what we thought about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we never think about, especially if our heart is broke or some type of trauma and things of that nature. Like I and what you saying about the sick and disabled, I love sick and disabled people because they are the epitome of the power of the mind and how much it can transcend the physical, mental, like the limitations of humanity. When you have a purpose or a vision or a drive, anything is accomplished. And there is many disabled people living better than people with 10 fingers and 10 toes to this day, because they use their mind and they use their power.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's I've seen it with people with CNI dogs and disabled dogs hopping in and out of Benzes, going to this conference to that conference, and meeting to that meetings, and people who have wonderful physical bodies just sitting on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
So the mind is so amazing, but we have to differentiate between which mind we're actually using. And it's a difference, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And I have to continuously have this conversation over and over and over and over again, because I ain't going to say that I get it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand it, but I might slip up on it. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to speak to that because that's a powerful thing.
Yeah, something that's really interesting about my own personal development and coming into my own power was, you spoke a little bit earlier about how spirit, like when you look back on stuff, you can see how spirit led you and like, guided you through something. And so like 2 years ago, I, because my team is through Sanford Medical Center and like I'm in their pain management clinic. And, so like this is like a long haul thing. They're like, you're going to be in pain for like the rest of your life. We're going to teach you how to think differently about your pain. I was like, what? Think differently about my pain? And at this time, like I didn't know that like changing my core beliefs around something in particular would change how I experienced it. And,
Mm-hmm.
I had to go through pain psychology classes. And in the pain psychology classes, we learned about how, the processing of there is the parasympathetic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. We learned about how, like you said, that 95% of your actual day-to-day experience is through the subconscious mind and not the conscious mind. And that is your nervous systems. And that, like, they said that your first brain, is not this brain, it's and like I at the time, because as someone, I'm very scientific and I need proof. I'm someone who needs a lot of proof for something to happen. And Spirit knew if I went through just the affirmations and mantras and stuff like that, I would have been like, this is bullshit, I can't do this. So they're like, show you the science of how this works and how changing your beliefs and your behaviors and your cognitions around a certain thing will alter how you experience the thing. And
that is facts.
it's a shame that, like, even that knowledge, like I'm getting it through like the medical, and like it's of course it's a research hospital, so like a lot of this information is new and how they're applying it, and like these teachings, like CBT, like cognitive behavioral therapy, is the gold standard for chronic back pain. And like it's not surgery, it's not anything physical, it's not just a quick fix, like we spoke about. It's really about changing how you think and feel about something, how you behave within that, and how it then is projected in your actual reality. And and then, like, Priestess Segment and some other of my teachers, especially Michelle Arena, she speaks about of Wednesday Moon. She speaks about how when you see something and you speak, those are seeds that will be planted within 3 years. And you had mentioned too, they were like, you didn't know about stuff like in the past that you had said or had thought that are just now coming up into your life. They're just now sprouting. You're like, oh shit, like there's still stuff from the past that I now have to, like, I'm reaping what I sowed, like back then. And like, as someone, I know you're a Virgo, and I think like that's why, like, a lot of this information is really helpful, because you operate from the first brain, or the first mind, is the gut, and like a lot of the way that you interpret and like digest information is literally through actual physical digestion, and like having to break down the little pieces of what and then like have it flow through your whole system. It can't just feeding through this brain, because it actually doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't fuel your fire. It doesn't like enable you to have any like real like gusto, right, to push something through. But in like I know we have just a little bit of time left, but I really wanted to just kind of speak just a very little bit for a few minutes about in particular how astrology, because we're both astrologers, right? Astrology can be something that will help you distill what are things that are your own truth, give you a really specific modality that's like not against your internal energy, so that you can manifest and do things. And then as well as how there is a huge solar eclipse that's coming up, and especially the sign of Leo, and this is all about the self. I am the heart, and that this is the time of like allowing people to access their full potential and to access their abundance by choosing to do the thing that's specific to them and not what everyone else is saying that they should be doing. And I just want if there were just 3 things, like 2 or 3 things that you would suggest for people who may want to try to use this science, because it is a science. It's a living
science,
social science.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can create hypotheses and you can record your observations, and there's a systematic method of like utilizing your own personal cosmology as evidenced by your natal chart, so that you're not just like silly running around being like, it's so random.
I'm a Virgo, yeah. You're a Cancer, like, is it? So yeah, like astrology is like, that's something that I was introduced at a very, very young age, super, super young. And then something that was like, the thing that I love about astrology is that nobody is the author of astrology. The universe is the author. Like, so the solar eclipse that's happening August 21st, You cannot deny that. There's no type of theoretical, hypothetical conversation we can have on the solar eclipse being fake or real or whatever. So when I deal with astrology, if Venus is in Gemini on my Western astrological chart. I'm in the Western part of the world. I deal with some Vedic, you know what I'm saying? And I respect Vedic, but I ain't in India. You know what I'm saying? I'm in America. If I was in India, then I would be more of a Vedic type of person. But I mean, I'm just taking where I'm at, and what I'm dealing with is Western astrology, and everybody has difference of opinions based upon their teachings. So, you know, with me, astrology is that personality shield that we got to really overcome if we want to be spiritual. And so if you don't understand your chart and your aspects, if you don't understand, so we have these archetypes within us. I put a picture up recently. It was like, the sun is I am. Mercury is I think. Mars is I'm acting. Venus is I love, and so forth and so on. And these things intersect and transit and have conjunctions and things of that nature. So sometimes we love what we think if your Venus and Mercury is conjunct. And so we have to understand ourselves from a personality level to really get into this spirit thing. And especially this trauma and misunderstandings of ourselves as far as who we are as spiritual beings versus who we are as human beings. And that is one of the biggest cruxes that we always have this wall that we come against. Like, I have to talk about it in my relationships on a weekly basis. Like, babe, you're a spirit though. Like, you're a spirit. It's like, yeah, I know, I get it, I'm a spirit, and you know what I'm saying. Then we'll just revert back into humanity. And so I do a bi-weekly astrology video series, This Week in Astrology. I started off like doing every aspect transit. Then I just kind of scaled back and just do new moon, full moon. Because what you feel is important, and the moon regulates what we feel. And so understanding the new moon that just happened July 23rd, and then we're going into a solar eclipse August 7th, I believe, or something like that. I think it's August 7th. We have a solar eclipse, and then from there we have a lunar eclipse August 21st. Now, if you want to talk about eclipses in antiquity, then we have to talk about Columbus, sailing, finding a new world. You want to talk about world wars, or you want to talk about, you know, polio, like any major event that happened in history. Joan of Arc, they say like it was a solar eclipse when she started like kicking ass. You know what I'm saying? So if we want to really like kick ass, we really need to keep track of these solar eclipses. Even Nat Turner, they talk about when he saw that solar eclipse, he knew it was time to. So basically, solar eclipses is like time to kick ass. And especially, I don't mean literal ass kicking. I mean, whatever we all have our demons knocking at our door, you know, antagonizing us. And we have to fight. And fight symbolizes fire. So you have Aries, or you have Mars, or you have Leo, or you have the sun. So what we're talking about is solar eclipse that is in a fire sign, which is Leo. We have the sun, which is ruled that rules Leo. And we also have Mars conjunct during this whole time. So it's not like just a lunar eclipse. It's a lot of Mars and fire energy, and a lot if you think about fire, and if you think about yourself in a position to whereas you need to like burn yourself a pathway through the maze of life, this
Mm-hmm.
is a perfect time to utilize that energy. This is a time to really embolden yourself to
Mm-hmm.
really make those changes. And like you can see, like just with you doing this webinar and the feeling of I'm ready to make drastic changes in my life. I'm ready to win. I'm ready to be victorious. Um, you think about the symbolism of the Sphinx. So we have this on the one of the last days of Leo going into Virgo, which is 2 days later. So when you have Leo, which is a lion, and then you have a Virgo, and you've been speaking on Sekhmet all day, the Sphinx is actually Sekhmet. That's Sekhmet's
Mm-hmm.
face. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's so right on in symbolic ways and personal ways where we are trying to utilize this energy where we are actually taming our animalistic desires and really putting the head of Sekhmet on the lion, and the lion is sitting and she's in a position of peace but also in a position of like ready to attack if
Yeah.
need be.
Yeah.
If need be. But it's a real zen moment for all of us who have been diligent in our consciousness and the manifestations that result of us doing the work. And it hasn't been a perfect journey,
No.
but it's so beautiful, it's so amazing. And that's what I'm inviting into everybody's lives with the solar eclipse. The solar eclipses have been monitored and recorded throughout history and antiquity as major deals. So, and then on top of that, we have it conjunct the North Node
Mm-hmm.
with, and the North Node is to the, in a simple terms, the world to come. How so you figure all of this fire on top of the world to come, on top of a solar eclipse, like you cannot you cannot look at this transit as something just as just another day.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be a fool. You know what I'm saying? This is a powerful time for transformation if we want to transform. I'm so passionate and so ready to get my butterfly wings. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just more or less like I'm ready to transcend and transform into the person that I was put on this earth to be. And no matter how difficult your path has been, or how hard it's been, we could really use this energy to really empower and embolden ourselves and really use this, Leo energy, fire energy. Like, it's just amazing. And it's not like something that's like just going to happen rapidly, instantly. We should be able to feel the changes and transformations now.
Yeah.
At least, you know what I'm saying? At least I am. And I know people around me are. And
Oh yeah.
your family, like really loving, like, I looked at my family like last night, this morning, like, man, it's such a beautiful, amazing thing to me. Like, like being a wealthy or rich man would be great, but really, like, I really just love my family, like in a way that I've never have. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I'm growing into that. And that's a great place to grow into. You know what I'm saying? Like, another thing that's going to happen is that the things that we truly are grateful for, you gonna know why you grateful for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't. It's like a grateful on another level. Like you know what I'm saying? It's just a beauty on another level, and this is just a real thing that's happening. Like amazing things are happening, and I know a lot of times, you know, people talk about things like 2K or December 21st, 2012, or this, that, and the third, but this is a major deal, like the blood moons and things of that nature. Like, this is an all encompassing everything that we have been through since 2008. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
when Pluto.
And the eclipse seasons run every 19 years. So whatever
Mm-hmm.
was happening for you in 1998, it's
Yeah,
coming back up. And it's like we spoke about how like ascension is not linear. It's even the
it's
cycle
cyclical.
of and it works in a spiral way. So even the cosmos do that. Like it comes back around to meet a point that it was already at. So like you can be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
did were these things that I put
Mm-hmm.
in all this years ago? Are they, that's why some people are revisiting some things, especially that they forgot that like
Mm-hmm.
X's, like anything relating to the heart, right? And
Mm-hmm.
because we're on the axes of Leo and Aquarius, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like anything that has to do with I and we has come
Mm-hmm.
up really strongly for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
especially like the things that got them in the way, like from being parts of groups, and the things that like actually make them who they are, which are like the things of their own individual heart. Like you said, like you
Mm-hmm.
coming into your own and understanding that like you really love your family, like you
Mm-hmm.
are really going to understand like the workings of their own hearts as part
Mm-hmm.
of this solar eclipse. And like there's going to be a lot of motivation and stuff, and also the burning aspect, right? Like this
Mm-hmm.
and Mars, they will eliminate things
Yeah.
around that's not
Yeah.
helpful because they just burned the shit,
They
so
just burn.
yeah, they just do, like it works that way,
Mm-hmm.
and like the reason like I chose to schedule this webinar at the time I did because Mercury came into Virgo, and the
Mm-hmm.
Mercury retrograde will be happening within the sign of
It's
Virgo.
going.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
really want
going.
people to be able to digest this information in the body and not just
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
intellectualize this whole thing, and then
That's beautiful.
for it to come around and for people to read
Yeah,
about and
that
read
is
the things that
beautiful.
they really wanted to see and hear, because yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
work with the cosmos, because as we know, it's as above so below and as within so
Mm-hmm.
without, that like
Mm-hmm.
that's why like developing the like the inner spirituality is so important, because I had spoke earlier, like if there isn't something that that's within, then that's
Mm-hmm.
why everything seems so bleak without,
Mm-hmm.
as
Okay, yeah.
and like
Or so abstract.
yeah. And like like when you have like some people don't understand like what they want spiritually, but some people really know what they love,
Mm-hmm.
and like sometimes like working
Mm-hmm.
with what it is that you love to do and who you love to be with, and incorporating the things that really bring you a really strong sense of I am. Those are the things that are going
Mm-hmm.
to be shown to you as being really important to follow within the solar eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And
For sure.
so
For
much about
sure.
astrology, you may just come up with like, wow, like you said, you're like, I really love my family tonight, or like, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
is like really incredible. Like I didn't really
Yeah,
know
right.
anything about them
I
before.
didn't. I didn't. I didn't. I didn't. And I seen her yesterday, like just the accomplishments and the things that she said she did. And I'm just like, and I'm, the vegan diet, and it's like everything is just looking good, man. Like it's just like it's like coming together, man. And it's like, especially diet. I think diet is a big thing. I think that's kind of taboo in consciousness, but I think personally that diet is an important thing. And I'm not saying what a person should or shouldn't do, but this solar eclipse has a lot to do with diet. And if we look at our
Mhm.
people dying and being sick, 90% of that is through dietary choices. And so I'm happy that I'm personally taking that responsibility to change, but I would wish that other people would take that change, but it's like certain people is like, it's hard for them to do,
Yeah. And like some people,
you know.
people, like I said, they love what they love, and some of,
Mm-hmm.
and because we're all different beings, what works for some of us may not work for others, and that's where things like
Right.
meditation and like, you know, like being in nature and all these things really help you to figure out, okay, like, is this new diet the thing that really works for me? And if your body's just a hard
Right.
ass no, as opposed to your brain being like,
Right.
I like bacon, you know, like
Yeah.
body for real is like, "Really, I think you should consider bacon," then you're like, okay, like it's not coming from like my brain being like, please don't eat, like, you know, like, or like whatever it is around you. It's like if you have a really strong belief, not necessarily belief, if you have the inner knowing that this is the thing that you need at this time, and not necessarily it's something that you engage in indefinitely, like to listen to that, because even yeah, like diet will help you like navigate the intensity even of like the energies that are coming through, because I know a lot of people are feeling
Yeah.
a lot of these like what people like, you know, the new age calls ascension symptoms, but like it's really just people becoming more aware of their own bodies, that it's like the sensations within the bodies is that much more prevalent
Mm.
that people don't know what to do
And
about it. And so like drinking really good water, you know, eating cleaner, you know, taking care of hygiene, taking care of spiritual hygiene, like those are really Virgo things. I have Jupiter in Virgo conjunct
mm-hmm.
Sun, so like I
Mm.
Virgo energy for me is really
You gotta you're super Virgo.
yeah. It's a lot of things that it's important for me, you know, and like I have shifted
Mm-hmm.
really dramatically in what it is that I've eaten and what it is that I'm consuming,
Mm-hmm.
both
Mm-hmm.
in my media studies, but also in like what it is that I'm putting in my actual mouth, that like it's helping me to figure out what it is, you know, that will really help me out. You know, I'm someone who I have Aquarius in the second house and Leo in the eighth house. And so like
Mm-hmm.
axes of like other people's values, my values, what I consume, what other
Mm-hmm.
people tell me that I should consume, you know, what I should possess from other people versus what I think I should value and possess on my own. Those are the things that are coming
What
up.
planets do you have any planets in Aquarius?
I have Saturn.
Oh, you a second house Saturn. So
Yeah.
that's why we connect. We connect like because I'm a 0 degrees Virgo. I got Virgo, Mercury,
Woo!
and Venus at 0 degrees Virgo. Plus, I'm a second house Saturn, but my Saturn is in Sagittarius.
Yeah, I'm second house
But
Aquarius, and then I have Chiron and Leo, and they make an opposition, and then Saturn
mm-hmm.
squares Pluto, and Pluto squares my Chiron. So
Oh
you
wait,
know, and my Pluto's
oh
in the
wait.
11th
So
house,
it's
so
like
it's all a part
yeah.
of
So
me.
so it's a more or less like the treatment and the medical center is I wouldn't take it as I wouldn't take it personally. I would take it as to actually heal people, you have to have some type of experience on where they have been. So your knowledge of pain is just for your portfolio so you'll be able to help people. I would never take it personally,
Oh
even
yeah.
though it's naturally to do, but the way that your chart is set up, that Saturn opposed Chiron, is just so you can have physical knowledge on how to actually heal people
Oh
instead
yeah.
of like reading it in a book. That
Yeah.
makes you powerful.
That's what I spoke about with like, you know, previous segment, you know, my
Mm-hmm.
like we spoke a little bit earlier, you know, as an alchemist,
Mm-hmm.
my job is to teach people and show people how to transmute trauma and pain into actual physical dollars and money, cash
That is
that
beautiful.
you can utilize and, you know, actually heal people with that, because a lot of people need
Mm-hmm.
money as healing, right? Because it's energy, right? So people need this
Mm-hmm.
energy of abundance, of being taken care of being nurtured, of being supported, of being financially stable, in order for them to actualize a lot of things. And like, yeah, like as someone who experiences a lot of pain, like I said, I've been in pain my whole life. Like I understand
Mm-hmm.
pain is just a signal to help divert you into a new direction. And that's why spirit led me into all these pain psychology
Mm-hmm.
classes and being a part of the pain management clinic, so I can have, you know, like actual like you said, physical understanding, and also like the teachings of psychology, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
incorporate this knowledge and to actually apply it and show people like I'm not just coming up with it off the top of my dome.
Yeah,
Like
like
I'm
I
like,
done been
people
through
have
this.
studied this since like, the 60s. Like, you know, like people, they have been
Mm-hmm.
studying it. And like a lot of the things that like, you know, like I was telling somebody, like when people say like that pain is in your head, it's really painful because you internalize it and you take it personally. But they're saying
Mm-hmm.
it happens like in the brain and spinal column, and when your brain interprets these symptoms, these signals, you know, from your body, and you have a pain gate that opens, maybe when you've heard that something is really painful, or
Mm-hmm.
something painful, or you get angry, like you feel your brain and your spine kind of shoot up, it's because
Mm-hmm.
chemicals are being released, and your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and behaviors open or close how much
Mm-hmm.
chemicals are actually released and how much you can set
Mm-hmm.
yourself off. And it's the breath that actually like helps to keep that from like having this strong
Mm-hmm.
cascade of chemicals. And like so
Mm-hmm.
we had learned like progressive muscle relaxation, which is like a form, and like mindfulness. We were taught like walking
Mm-hmm.
meditations. We were taught all these things,
Mm-hmm.
in the realm of science and pain psychology,
Mm-hmm.
in order to be like,
That is beautiful.
Cynthia, here's the proof that you
Mm-hmm.
needed. Now
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
like up and now like fuse it with the spiritual teachings and show people that
Mm-hmm.
like this isn't just a bunch of like whitewashed shit that people are propagating, but it's actually it's ancient Kemetic science, astrology, and
Mm-hmm.
it's and it comes from Babylon, it comes from all these places, like that Chaldean astrology, all these things are really important. They have been, like you said, like no one sat there and like was like, oh, here is the sun and here is the moon. The sun and the moon were there
Yeah, yeah.
before we
They
got
were
here.
already there. Yeah.
And
That's
like,
what I tell people all the time. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's just,
Yeah.
I really thank you for taking us there with astrology and like, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing enough about it to help guide some of our audience, like
Mm-hmm.
if you would like people who are listening,
Mm-hmm.
you can contact me, but you could also contact Kyree.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great
Mm-hmm.
astrologer, and in
Mm-hmm.
exchange for, if you are someone who cannot pay for readings, like he and I
Mm-hmm.
both offer free readings
Mm-hmm.
in exchange for.
Mm-hmm.
I do free randomized readings on an email
Mm-hmm.
queue list. You can check my Instagram or my Facebook page
Mm-hmm.
for more information. But on the Hood Mystic, if you go down to his
Mm-hmm.
services, he
Mm-hmm.
does say that he will offer free services to you if you need it in
Mm-hmm.
exchange for honest and helpful reviews so that he can,
Mm-hmm.
learn more about what is helpful in his own practice, but also to show other
Mm-hmm.
people that, yeah, like this isn't something that like just people who are trying to make money off you are
Yeah.
propagating. This is an actual transformational, life-changing tool. And
Mm-hmm.
like we both are committed to making sure that astrology is
Mm-hmm.
accessible within our own community. So be sure to definitely connect with both of us on
That
that. So
is
that way,
peace. That
like
is.
you can learn more about this because we both want you to be empowered within your own self and to know your own cosmology so that way you can integrate these things and apply them and you're not just like I said earlier, just throwing affirmations on things that like you actually really need to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, it's no random. It's no randomness to this world.
Mm-hmm.
No coincidences. Nothing happens by chance. We A law is cause and effect. The same law is cause and effect is to say if you walk off of a building, you're gonna fall. Like
Yes.
there's no praying that you could do, there's no wishing, there's no spell you could do to prevent you from falling off a building when you walk off of it. It's just a law of, I don't know if you want to call it gravity or just height and weight. I don't know. But cause and effect is a law that, is not about prayer, hopeful, wishful thinking. It's utilizing these archetypical information. Like, how do we know astrology is real? Astrology is so real because every single day that you've been alive, the sun has rose and set. No matter what's going on Earth, the Twin Towers fell. The sun still set at the proper time. No matter what we go through, this thing called astrology and sun and moon is going to be here as long as we here. It's going to be here before us and after us. So it's best that we kind of get a grasp on that and understand it. So
Oh yeah. And
most definitely reach out.
yeah, and so like one more thing before we head out, I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
just like really quick off the top of your head, if there were
Mm-hmm.
name the top three things, like short statements about
Mm-hmm.
building wealth, whether
Mm-hmm.
based in spirituality or just based in anything
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that no one shared with you that you had to learn on your own. Could you name like those three things or one of those three things that would be that, yeah, like it's just like a little chunk of
Mm-hmm.
nugget knowledge that would be helpful for our listeners?
For sure. The difference between a producer and a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so basically, real quick, A consumer is somebody who simply consumes products and trying to buy shit all the time. A producer is producing quality of life goods and services, um, to keep this thing afloat, to keep this thing going. The problem with the world is that it's too many consumers and not enough producers, if you ask me. Number two, um, hmm.
Right, I'm all like making some
study
back.
yeah studying, yeah, I know. Studying, like, really the what you do with your time. If you are programmed to watch TV and, use your time real stupid, like work and then come home and talk about what Power is on and Empire and Game of Thrones, and I don't got nothing against those shows, but if we got things that we wish to accomplish, how is Game of Thrones helping you? If
Hmm.
it's helping you, then whatever. Um, but nothing against entertainment. But if we are in the business of law of attraction and raising Kundalini and really understanding this matrix at a deep level, we have to be mindful of our time. Time management is important.
Hmm.
Um, Number three, nature. It seems as though like being out in nature is useless and folly, but that's what we're about to do right now. We're about to go to the cave for no purpose, but just to be somewhere that isn't built up with wood and buildings and four walls and right angles, like all this human straight lines. Like, we need to just be out in nature. Us as melanated people, that
Hmm.
is our kingdom. That's our wheelhouse. But how, like, and I go out to places all the time. I rarely see melanated people, like in the woods and things of that nature. So, and that's just all people. Like, we just generally need to spend time, whether it be walking, having a picnic, eating. It's great benefits in that. I can't speak to it, but personally, I think that we are, if you were all to, sorry, if we were all to utilize those steps and just do one out of the three, like make it a practice to do certain things outside of our 95% unconscious behavior, we shift our paradigm instantly and we start to notice changes instantly. And what we do with those changes, if we can keep those up, that's great. If we fall off, having places like coming to you or coming to me or, Priestess Sekhmet, people who are really about this life every day, is just a reminder. It's a process and we got to work through it. And we can't really think that it's going to be a quick fix or even expect everybody to get it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
I think those are really, really great. And
Mm-hmm.
I like really, really appreciate all the things that we were able to cover today because you really
Yeah,
spoke
this was
about
beautiful.
not only the spiritual aspects, but we also got into the psychology of why this is important and that like a lot of this isn't just bunk science or pseudoscience
Mm-hmm.
that we're propagating,
Mm-hmm.
but this is ancient
Mm-hmm.
teachings. These are things that can be found in medical journals as beneficial. Harvard studies mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
There's universities that study positive psychology, and these things are there for you. So if you're someone who's like us and needs physical, tangible proof and had needed that before we had gotten to the spiritual part, understand
Mm-hmm.
that was a process we had to go through too, and that there's nothing wrong with you for needing proof. That's part of what you're good at, being someone who's analytical
Mm-hmm.
or critical and needs proof and evidence. Like, it's not because you're crazy and you don't believe, it's because you understanding and integrating information in that way helps you talk about it to other people in a way that they would understand because you know the step-by-step process to get there, and that you
Mm-hmm.
know that it's not a quick fix like we've been talking about. All this is
Mm-hmm.
circular, it's secular, it's spiral. And so for the rest of you listening, I really encourage you to look into some of the sciences that we are speaking about if you haven't yet, into the tarot, into astrology, into, creating your own personal spells, into doing altar work, into working with the ancestors, going into nature, meditation, doing visualization,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the natural laws of the universe, also
Mm-hmm.
into the psychology of the brain, learning pain psychology. Like literally, we talked about so much because there really is not one avenue for you. And do not get pigeonholed by a lot of these other spiritual teachers
Mm-hmm.
who try to make you be a certain way to ascend, because that's not true. Your body is perfect for your life purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
your mind is perfect for your life purpose, and you are going to be spirit led to transform those things in the time that you're ready to do so. And if you try to change things too much when it's not in the time, it's just, that's why some of us, especially myself, have experienced difficulties. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
astrology is helpful, because it gives you cosmic timing, so you're not
Mm-hmm.
yet doing the guesswork. You have
Mm-hmm.
an actual framework to follow through. And
Mm-hmm.
as such, I want to be able to excuse
You
me.
can.
That's all good. I want to be able to just give you a few moments right now to talk to our listeners about how they can
Mm-hmm.
get a hold of you. Like, what are some
Mm-hmm.
things that they can, your social medias,
Mm-hmm.
if there's anything, like how else they can get a hold of you if they do want to get a
Mm-hmm.
free reading. I know that's like part of
Mm-hmm.
the gift that you're offering in exchange for
Mm-hmm.
reviews. If
Mm-hmm.
you can speak a little bit to that, so that way, as part of our closing, that would be great.
Yeah, for real. And just to just quickly add on to what you were saying, don't doubt what you resonate with. If you're
Mhm.
resonating with something, that's what it is. And don't look for confirmation. The things that I resonate with, I'm not looking for people to vouch for me. I
Yeah.
like it, so I'ma like it. So really don't second guess yourself. But to get in contact with me, the easiest way is through email, and that's hoodmystic@gmail.com. But the website is www.hoodmystic.com. Currently, I'm doing two things on there. Doing the universal law, the practical uses, where I'm just really creating an outline for a book, but I'm doing it in video form, just because I like the medium of videos, because I drive a lot. Um, Building a logistics company and a transportation company requires me to like drive a lot. So I
Mm-hmm.
listen more than I can actually read. So doing that with universal law, and I'm also doing that with astrology. So like what's going on energy wise, you can keep up to date with me there, hoodmystic.com. YouTube, it's Hood Mystic, two words, Hood Mystic. Facebook, is L Melchizedek. That's L Melchizedek, Melchizedek. But I also have a business page, and that's facebook.com/Hood Mystic. Then I also have two secret groups you can search for. That's like really bomb.
Mm-hmm.
I
There.
was talking to I was talking to somebody like just on some random, and they was talking about the Healers Connect, and they was like, "Man, I don't really like that group because like it's some real live witches in there." And I was like, thank you. Like that was the goal, like to
Mm-hmm.
get some real power in there. So like, and that's just a platform to like the power of resonance. Like you may not be into what I'm talking about, and I'm perfectly cool with that, but there's some people in there that you may like, so check that out. Healers Connect. And the root of all fortune is like the gist of that group is because wealth wealthy wealth is an idea that wealthy people have.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can incept the idea of wealth in people who generally wouldn't have that idea themselves, I'm banking on major changes.
Yeah.
And me personally, I've seen people create jewelry, create, lock, dreadlock, jewelry and things of that nature. I know some actors. Just last week, my girl Sydney Moon, she got featured on Vice for Liquid Gold. You can search that. Search Sydney Liquid Gold. Like, you know what I'm saying? These is people that I F with. And before all of this, it was just like, I don't know. I need some help. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not taking no credit at all. I'm just saying they deserve all the credit because they did all the work. I'm just simply trying to get people to understand that you can save yourself right now and your perspective. And once you change your perspective on things, life changes. And I guarantee I've seen so much in my daily life and people that I just talk with on a daily basis. And it's like, I'm starting this business, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and thank you. I'm like, shit, I ain't do nothing. I'm trying to get my own stuff going on. Like, it ain't about me being a leader or having followers. It's really about really getting this information out and really helping people to the truth of, their parasympathetic system, their spiritual reality, the breath, meditation. They open them up to like different realms of thought and really getting out of that, like we spoke on, like being unstuck. You're stuck because 95% of your behavior and actions and thoughts is unconscious. So if we could adjust that just a little bit, we start to change and we start to really get unstuck and really do amazing things. And capitalism is built upon being a higher class and a lower class. And that higher class is a mentality and that lower class is a mentality. Now, how do you want to do this from that understanding? Do you want to change your thoughts or do you want to keep the same thoughts you have? So if you reach out to me, I'd like to do one-on-one to just talk to people and really just get into it, man, and not just be trying to figure out, all right, how much money you can get or how much, like, it ain't about money with me. It's really about if you have a desire to tap into your spiritual reality, and I can help with that. So if you want to text me, it's 614-556-9010, or you can email me at hoodmystic@gmail.com.
Awesome. So thank you,
That's
Kyree,
dope.
so much because I really, really appreciate this, and I really appreciate your willingness to be open for the community and for them to just reach you directly. And I really encourage folks, if this interview really resonated with you, to contact Kyree because he is great. He's, as you can see, the conversation is very easy. And he'll meet you exactly where you're at. He's not here to judge you or to criticize you where you're at. He's really just here to provide space to facilitate that change within you and to help you, like, give you a framework, a spiritual framework for how to get that done. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. This was Get Free and Become Wealthy, why changing your mindset is crucial to accessing abundance in your life. My name is Cynthia, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Have a good
Peace. Thank you.